they're treating it as if this stuff was a poison. And what doctors don't recognize is that if they went back and looked at medical history, they would find that iodine was one of the first successful pharmaceutical minerals that we were able to use to treat a major illness. Now you'll think about the 1800s. Back during that time period, if a person came down with syphilis or if they came down with gonorrhea or something, they would be given strychnine, they'd be given mercury, they'd be given all sorts of poisonous materials to get rid of their infectious illnesses and so on. But one of the most successful ventures in the field of pharmaceutical was the treatment of goiters with the use of iodine. Well, today we find that iodine not only helps to shrink goiters, and we're talking about 50 to 150 milligrams a day, but if you put a woman on iodine for fibrocystic breast disease, that within just a matter of a few days to a few weeks, her breast pain is totally gone, and it will stay away as long as she's taking iodine. If she comes off the iodine, the breast pain will come back within a few weeks. But we have discovered that if you take a woman with fibrocystic breast disease with lots of recurrent cysts and scar tissue and painful tissues, and you put them on about 50 milligrams of iodine a day, that within a period of about 3 years, that they can have a 50 to a 90% reduction in the presence of fibrocystic disease in the breast tissue. So just as giving iodine got rid of goiters and can help to get rid of those, giving iodine helps to get rid of fibrocystic breast disease. Now, it turns out that women who have problems with recurrent cysts in the ovaries, you give them iodine and within a few months their cysts in the ovaries start disappearing. It's interesting that women who have polycystic ovarian syndrome or PCOS, these women have periods maybe once every 9 months to a year because the ovaries are just not functioning like they should. Once you put a woman on 50 milligrams of iodine a day, I would dare say that probably 90-95% of these women will within 6 months start having periods. And in my medical practice, out of something like 6 patients who have polycystic ovaries, where they have problems with infertility.
Hold that thought. We'll be back in just a moment, please. Well, this is Dr. Stan, and Dr. Fletcher is talking about how if you treat women with fibrocystic disease of the breast, it will get better, and long-term treatment will really do away with most of the disease. And certainly many women who are polycystic disease have the ovary, of course, can't conceive, but if you put them on the iodine, and he was saying, what, you've had about 6 patients with polycystic ovaries?
Yeah, about 6 patients with polycystic ovaries started on 50 milligrams of iodine a day, and within a period of 6 months, they would start having periods every 28 days, right on schedule. And we also found out that the fertility rate went up, and so out of the 6 patients who have PCOS, 4 have gotten pregnant and have had children now. So that this problem with polycystic ovaries is a major problem of infertility in the United States, and it looks like iodine may be a thing that needs to be looked at very closely by the endocrine doctors as to a reason why infertility is on the rise here in the United States. The other problems that we have noticed is a problem of hormone resistance. We noticed that I had a lady that came in one time to the office, and she had an abnormally super high blood sugar of about 1,300. Usually that type of blood sugar will kill somebody. And we gave her some insulin and started treating her with insulin. 2 weeks later, she was seen in the office, and I said, while you were hospitalized, I noticed that you had a lot of cysts and nodules and scar tissue in your breast tissue, and I said, we need to put you on some iodine to help you to get your breast into better health. And it was interesting that and then I taught her how to use a glucometer and how to check her blood sugars 2 times a day. Well, she comes in a month later, and her average blood sugar for the whole month was something like 98. And I said, oh, you're doing so good with your diet. You're doing so good with your exercise programs, doing so good with insulin. And she said, oh, didn't I tell you I came off of insulin about 3 or 4 weeks ago because the insulin was giving me problems with hypoglycemia. And she said, even if I went down to 1 or 2 units of insulin, I still got that hypoglycemia. And I sat there and said, well, what do you think happened? And she said, well, soon after you started me on that iodine stuff, she said, I started experiencing episodes of hypoglycemia. And she said, it's got to be the iodine. So then we waited another month. She continued to keep taking iodine. And when she came back a month later, her average blood sugar was 92. Now, if you look at patients who have diabetes, 90% of diabetics have plenty of insulin. There's plenty of insulin in the body. What they have is what's called insulin-resistant diabetes. That is, the body doesn't recognize the presence of the insulin. Iodine helps to increase the recognition of the body to the presence of the insulin. And I can say that it's not just insulin. We can talk about, we can talk about thyroid hormone. We can talk about testosterone. We can talk about cortisone. We can talk about just about every major hormone in the body. Every receptor needs iodine in order to be able to function more efficiently. And so what we're finding is that a lot of diseases, and I see this quite often in the practice, where I have patients who come in and say, I say, well, how long have you been on Synthroid or thyroid medication? And they'll say, oh, I've been on thyroid medication for the last 10 years, and it seems like every time I go in to see the doctor once a year to get my thyroid medication adjusted, that he keeps upping the dose of thyroid hormone in order to control my symptoms. And once they start taking iodine, there is a dramatic decrease in the total amount of thyroid hormone that's necessary to control their medications. In fact, I'm a vegetarian, and vegetarians, about 80% of them have problems with iodine deficiency. And I developed low thyroid disease many years ago, and once I learned all this about iodine, I started taking iodine, and within a year or two, I was able to come off all thyroid medication, and my total thyroid symptoms and thyroid system is controlled by just taking iodine. I no longer have to take thyroid hormone, and I just control everything with the use of iodine.
Well, there's a lot here that most people really are unaware of. We didn't realize that taking the iodine out of our bread and out of our milk and out of half of our salt. Why would they have done something that foolish that would be so hazardous to our health? We'll be back here in just a moment or two with Dr. George Flessis as we explore iodine and really the body needs it. Well, this is Dr. Stan back here at Radio Liberty, and our guest is Dr. George Flessis. And I think it's important that people understand that in Japan, where they have high doses of iodine, they have much lower levels of fibrocystic breast disease, much lower levels of cancer of the breast, and many other cancers as well. In fact, they even have lower levels of heart disease there. What's the relationship of iodine to heart disease? Is there any relationship that we know of between iodine and heart disease?
As far as we know, it's if you have slight fluctuations in thyroid hormone helps to control lipid metabolism. And so if you don't have enough thyroid hormone, then your blood fats go up. And I recently saw a man that came into my practice who had a cholesterol level of over 900. and he was having problems with low thyroid disease. We put him on